Okay, so here's some questions then on respiration. How many minutes after the start of the exercise was the highest oxygen depth recorded? That was 6, because that's the highest number of lactic acid in your body. Name of type of respiration that results in oxygen depth, anaerobic. When would Tom be releasing the most energy per glucose? Explain at 0 minutes because the least amount of lactic acid is produced. So at this point, he's releasing the most energy because he's still undergoing aerobic respiration. Which type of cell will be producing the lactic acid? It's the muscle cells. Use the data to give reasons why Amgen appears to be fitter than Tudor. Lower total volume of lactic acid concentration. He also returns to lower volumes quicker. So they both kind of start at the same volume. He was returning a lot quicker, and he also doesn't reach the peak of 90, which Tudor does. Give a reason why marathon runners rely almost totally on aerobic respiration and produce very little acid. The exercise is constant and not as vigorous, so able to take in more oxygen. This kind of question then is a nice 6 marker. I have put it in a table because I'm just trying to show you how to gain optimum marks. So it says name each type of respiration and then include any advantages and disadvantages. Equation 1 is aerobic respiration. This occurs naturally every day to produce energy. Okay. Equation 2 then is anaerobic respiration. This occurs only when you don't have enough oxygen and will only produce half the amount of energy. Creates cramp if too much lactic acid builds up. Okay. Calculate the difference in percentage composition of oxygen in expired air and inspired air. So you need to look at both of them, take them away from each other. That's 4.9. State the process in the cells that uses oxygen and glucose to release energy. That is respiration. Draw an arrow on the diagram of the healthy alveolus to show the direction of movement of oxygen. So oxygen goes in to your alveoli and carbon dioxide comes out then from your blood. So your blood then takes that back up to your lungs and gets rid of it. Two differences that if you go back to the picture and look is hardening in the capillary, so oxygen struggles to get through. The alveoli is not as curved as well, so it doesn't have as large a surface area. It's to do with the surface area. The surface area has changed, it's not as large. So it shouldn't fit as much oxygen through, okay? So complete the table to show the movement of molecules between the blood and the muscles. So oxygen goes from the blood to the muscles. Carbon dioxide goes from the blood, from the muscles to the blood, and water moves from both the blood and the muscles back and forth. Okay, so this question then, in the space below, use the word equation for anaerobic respiration. So glucose goes to lactic acid. It still makes ATP, which is a posh word for energy. Explain why anaerobic respiration is less efficient than aerobic respiration. Less energy produced for each molecule of glucose due to the lack of oxygen. Explain why even after exercise stops, the athlete continues to take in and use large volume of oxygen. We use this to recover. Remove lactic acid so we don't need to recover, so we need to recover from oxygen debt. Explain why the heart rate remains high even after exercise. The body is recovering, needs time to pump oxygen around the body to recover from debt and to get rid of lactic acid. I've then crossed this question out because you won't be asked that question on the paper that you'll be sitting. Lovely question then about labelling, and you even had the labels at the top, okay? So we've got the trachea, we've got the bronchioles, the bronchus are these two bits here, so be careful to get your bronchus and your bronchioles the right way around, and then the little bits at the end called the alveoli. Another nice question then about what happens when you breathe in and out. Again, I put it in a table. As long as you're writing in clear sentences, you'll be fine. I've done in and out. So when you breathe in, your ribs move up and out, your diaphragm contracts and the lungs expand. They also flatten. Low pressure, high volume air rushes in. Ribs move down and out. Then diaphragm relaxes. The lungs deflate. High pressure, low volume. That's to do with the air being able to be forced out. Explain what happens to the breathing rate. Your breathing rate will increase. Okay, so your breathing rate will increase because you want to get more O2 around your body. So it will increase because you want to get more O2. Blood pumps more blood around the body to reach the cells to respire, to make energy. Again, a lovely question. They've given you a box there, 4 marks. It's such a nice question. So that's your nasal cavity. You would have got a mark for saying nose. Trachea then, your ring of cartilage around it. Okay, then you've got your bronchus, and then the bronchioles, the bits coming off it, and your alveoli. Okay, really nice question. Make sure that you get the bronchus the right way, not confused with the bronchioles. Okay, your ribs, intercostal muscles, and your diaphragm. Okay, state 2 differences. There's no knowledge needed here. You just need to be able to read the table. More oxygen in the air breathed in, more CO2 in the air breathed out. Again, complete the following equations. Glucose plus oxygen makes carbon dioxide plus water. Name the reaction for the equation above is aerobic respiration. Question then again, see, same kind of things come up all the time. So labelling the trachea, which is this bit here, and then the bronchus. Okay, remember these bits, the bronchioles, and then the alveoli. Then there was a bit of information about what Roger was doing in the gym, him lifting weights. It did carry on the next page. And then it gave you a table, okay, of information about how much his chest changed when he breathed in and out. Just had to take the numbers away from each other to get these final volumes here. Don't lose that mark, fill in the table. Then calculate the mean, okay. So I did all 3 because they were all quite close to each other, and that would have given you 14.3, okay. Then it asked you to fill in a table talking about what happened to him as he breathed out, okay, as he breathed out. So your diaphragm moves upwards, your rib cage moves down and in when you breathe out, the volume decreases and the pressure increases to be able to force the air out. You can see the same kind of question again. There's the trachea, a bronchus there, okay. On the diagram below, explain what happens during expiration. The diaphragm relaxes, chest cavity decreases, high pressure and low volume force the air out. You could have mentioned the ribs going down and in if you wanted. Okay, that's another thing you could have done there. Bit of an odd question here, but it was kind of asking you what would happen to the diaphragm when you breathe in. So this is when your diaphragm is when you're about to breathe out. So when you breathe in, your diaphragm contracts and moves down to create more area for the air to rush in. So all you had to do was kind of draw a line there to show that it contracts and flattens out. Next question then. Describe 2 ways in which the alveoli is adapted. It's got a really large blood supply and it's got a really thin cell wall. Okay, it's also got a really large surface area. That's the other mark you could have got there. Then, just again, you can see a lot of these questions are using information from graphs and tables, so you've got to make sure you read everything clearly. It says, state the conclusion the doctor could reach from the data given in the graph. The cases of lung cancer increase with age, so you can see that the older you are, the more likely you are to get lung cancer, unfortunately. What evidence that lung cancer takes a long time to develop? The maximum or the largest amount of smokers, if you read up here, okay, reading in the information, is the 20 to 29 age group. They're the highest proportion of smokers. However, they're the people who aren't getting lung cancer. It's the people who are older that are getting lung cancer. So even though these are the guys that are smoking the most, it's not until they're in their 70s and 80s does the effect of lung cancer become apparent. State 2 ways we could do a representative of the whole population. Increase the sample size. We didn't sample that many people. And also test different genders. We're just looking at males, so we don't really know what the data shows about females. Again, labelling it. This one's the alveoli this time, so there's a lot of labelling. And then a lot of describing what happens to your diaphragm and your ribs and stuff, okay? So diaphragm would contract and flatten when you breathe in. The ribs would move up and out to create space. The pressure decreases as the volume increases. So it's kind of a nice question, kind of way to remember it, because they're the opposite of each other. So if volume increases, pressure decreases. And then again, what happens when you breathe in? So use the above diagram and your own knowledge to explain what happens when you breathe in, okay? So your diaphragm will contract and flatten, increasing the volume of the lungs. The ribs move up and out, increasing the volume of the lungs. The pressure is increased, the volume is increased, the pressure decreases so air can rush in. Okay, so it makes the volume of your lungs bigger. Again, I've just written in bullet points. I just want you to be getting that information down.